On today's PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, we're going to be asking some of the tough questions that came in over the last week in the comments. And of course, if you have tough questions, you know what to do with them. Put them in the comments. Holy vey. Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live daily show every weekday morning here on YouTube. Weekday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, photo, video, topics related, something along like, you know the routine by now. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to answer some questions that came up over the last week. There's a couple of good ones in here. We're not going to break these out into separate ones. We're just going to rattle through them because none of them are super deep and complex, but all definitely worthy of addressing either comments or questions that I thought were fun to bring up. As always, welcome to the chat room. Thank you everybody who is here live. Lovely to see you all in here today. As always, also remember, if you have a question you want me to answer during the show, make sure you type at PhotoJoseph in front of it. That does get my attention. And if you really want to get my attention, down there at the bottom, well, you can kind of see it. Actually, I can't mouse. No, I can. Right around there, you see that little thing? Well, once that lower third goes away, go away. Go away. Lower third. There's a little dollar sign. That's called the super chat button. If you click that, you can follow the instructions, and that really gets my attention. I always appreciate that. Little, there it is. It's just one of those other ways to help promote the show. Of course, there's also there's also that Patreon thing that it's not really doing much. I don't know. I might end up killing that. It's just one more thing that's on my mind that I'm not really doing anything with like I should be. So for you Patreon supporters, I thank you so much. And I apologize. I haven't done a proper chat. It's just one more thing, which actually brings up another question I wanted to ask you guys. I'm really kind of thinking through the structure of the show, as I always am. And one of the things I would really like to start doing, even just once a week, and even that would be honestly a lot, but if I could do once a week, an edited show, whether it's a product review or a demo or something that's not this long, rambling 20, 30, 40-minute show, but a short, concise, under 10-minute piece, and do that once a week. But I can't do this 5 times a week and do that. So something has to give. And I'm thinking and this isn't going to happen overnight, but I'm thinking if I reduce the live show to maybe 3 days a week and then do a one edited video a week, that might kind of make up for that. And I wonder what you guys think of that. And part of the challenge here is, when do I not do the live shows? Because I've now, although I could move it, I've kind of semi-committed to doing the podcast style on Wednesday, which I'm really excited about continuing on. And that doesn't have to be Wednesday, but it has to be one day a week. Monday is often reserved for a Q&A opening, and then Friday is the kind of out and about, could be anywhere, which only relieves really Tuesday and Thursday for the big techie ones. So I'm thinking Friday's a good day to just stop doing it and spend all day Friday working on an edited video, which maybe that releases on Friday. I don't know when that releases, but maybe it releases the following week, whatever. But that doesn't really matter. But I can't do 5 live a week. So I'm curious what you guys think. Should I try and do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday live? Should I do like a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and just skip Thursday, Friday? But then it's kind of a big gap off. I want your feedback. I want your thoughts on that. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat room what you think. In the meantime, it is time to get into the questions. And the first question is not there. Where'd the first question go? Where'd my slides go? The first question is, or first comment really, is not really so much a question, comes from Sharbax, who is Sharbax in the audience today? If you are, I don't think you're commenting. But this is from Sharbax, who is a regular on the show. And let's just bring it up here. So this is about the iPhone. Sharbeck says, $1,000 iPhone 10 and they decided to not include a fingerprint reader on the back is a huge mistake. Hundreds of Android phones with small bezels put the fingerprint reader on the back since 2014, and that is the best way to authenticate in a smartphone. Apple forcing you to use 3D Face Unlock on their $1,000 phone is wrong. Also, Apple's choice to cut out the display at the top is also very wrong. They should have put a selfie camera and other 3D face scan, etc. sensors at the bottom and ask users to flip the phone when doing stuff in selfie mode. Same as the $500 Xiaomi Mi Mix 2, for example, also has a 6-inch HDR proper bezel-less display. All right, so there's a lot of things in here that I find very interesting, and I'm going to challenge pretty much all of them. And I'm going to challenge them based off of my understanding of Apple and their design philosophy, my understanding of the technology, and just my own completely, totally biased opinion, because, it's my show and I get to do that. So first he says, let's talk about the fingerprint reader. It's a mistake not to include it on the back. Now, I've seen a lot of smartphones where the fingerprint reader's on the back. Some of them manage to put it magically close to the camera lens, which I find utterly moronic, because now you've got a device that has imagine if the fingerprint reader was right here, and you're feeling it, and you go, okay, there's my fingerprint reader. What have you just done? You've just put a fingerprint on your lens. That's hard enough as it is to keep these things clean, but when the fingerprint reader is right next to the camera lens, I call stupidity. That is really, really bad design. Now, if you manage to separate them, put the fingerprint reader down here, put this up here, yes, I can say that that becomes slightly more valid. But here's why it's a problem for any number of reasons. A case, any case design has to have a hole in it, so now you've got this big old hole in the back of it. Maybe that's not a big deal. When you put this thing on your car mount or any kind of mount, you can't access it from the front. You have to reach around, which personally, the way I mount my phone in my car, I would have to take it off to unlock it, which in the state of Oregon, they're about to pass a law where if you are holding the phone in your hand while driving, you're done. You're going to get a ticket, and apparently it's a really bad ticket, and apparently it's exponential. If you get a second ticket, it's way worse than the first, and if you get the third ticket, it's on par with getting a DUI. We're talking some serious ramifications. So get the hell your hands off the phone. Now, if that thing was behind there, you would have to do it. And I'm not talking about texting while driving. I'm talking just wake up your phone to get the navigation or change the song that's on or something like that. So there's another reason why I don't like that. So there's why I don't think that is. Now, he's also challenging, he says, Apple forcing you to do 3D face unlock on their $1,000 phone is wrong. And that the fingerprint is the best way to authenticate. Now, if you believe Apple's numbers, and let's just say that they're off considerably, their numbers on Face ID versus fingerprint ID, Touch ID, Face ID is so much more accurate. Remember the error ratio of Face ID, of Touch ID, according to the keynote, was 50,000 to 1. That means that for every 50,000 people out there, one of them has a fingerprint ID that could fool your phone, which I actually found remarkable. I thought that was really low because, we're all supposed to have unique thumbprints, but apparently that's the way it works. 50,000 to 1. Now, if you get 50,000 people in a room and one of them can unlock your phone, wow, okay, but not exactly the kind of thing that's going to happen, but still, that's a number. It's a statistic that's worth considering. Now you go up to Face ID, and it's 1,000,000 to 1. So you're going to get 1,000,000 people in the room, other than your evil twin brother, apparently, which I thought was kind of funny, would not be able to unlock your phone. So that's the part of this. That just straight up security, the Face ID is better. I'm going to tell you why I am excited about Face ID from a purely practical standpoint. And I've mentioned this on the show before when we first talked about it, I think. I cook a lot. And when I cook, my hands are dirty, greasy, slimy, oily, whatever. I also almost always wear gloves, tight rubber gloves, like surgical cooking gloves when I cook, because I just prefer. That's just my thing. And let's go back to iPhone 6. When I use my phone in the kitchen all the time for timers, for recipes, for conversions, for whatever, it's a constant. If I'm cooking, this is handy. And iPhone 6, I used to have to wrap my phone in cellophane. And that's what I do, is take some saran wrap, wrap it around the phone, and that was how I used my phone in the kitchen, so I didn't have to worry about getting dirty. Skip forward to iPhone 7, it's waterproof. Now I don't worry about that. I get this thing covered in pig fat, I don't care. I just wash it off in the sink when I'm done, and we're good to go. But when my hands are wet or I'm wearing the rubber gloves, I cannot authenticate with Touch ID, which means I have to enter my password manually, which I have a very long, complicated manual password because that's kind of the point. A 4-digit passcode is not secure enough. I want a much more complex one. So I have one, which means I have to do this every time I want to unlock my phone when I'm cooking. Skip forward now to iPhone 10 with Face ID. I can pick up my phone and boom, it's unlocked. Huge advantage to me. Plus, let's not forget that 3D scanner that's in the front of this phone, of the iPhone 10, which is what this is, the 3D scanner with 30,000 data points is, at least to some degree, we don't know how much it is, at least to some degree, opened up to third parties, because we saw in the keynote the demo where they showed Snapchat utilizing that front-facing camera with the face tracking, et cetera, et cetera. The implications of this, what could be done by developers, is astounding. If you have a 3D scanner built into the front of your phone, maybe, and I'm not saying you could, but maybe you could go, oh, I've got this object, okay, now I've got a 3D scan of this object. It's not just for faces. It could be used for anything, potentially. I think that this is a first step towards something really exciting and great. And then there's the whole AR, augmented reality side of it. There's a lot of stuff that can happen here. So it's more secure, it's more convenient, and as long as it's accurate and works really well, I don't see why you would think it's a bad thing. Okay, last one, the notch in the top. I do not disagree. I'm not a fan of the cutout notch in the top of the iPhone 10. The only other company that's done that I'm aware of is the Essential phone, which when I saw it there, I thought it was kind of stupid. Now, when I see it on the 10, the way that we've seen it, your interface goes up to the top of the phone, well, actually to the bottom of that cutout, and then the little ears, let's call them ears, are used for your time display and battery, Wi-Fi, your normal status stuff. which is a great use for it. What I don't like is when you go into look at a picture or a movie and it shows that cutout in there. That is just, to me, yeah, I don't want to see that. But we already know as well from other demos that you can easily pull it out so that it zooms down a little bit. It goes past that ear, the ears, so you don't have a cutout. You also don't cut off the rounded corners. I mean, seriously, a movie was not shot with rounded corners or with an ear cut out of it. So I want to see the movie or the picture in its full size, and you can do that. What I don't know yet is whether you can set that as a default, because I'll be kind of annoyed if every time I hit play on a movie it goes full screen and I have to do something to pull it back a little bit so I'm not seeing the ears. But we don't know. Until we get them, we don't know the answer to that question. But that's all that. Now, as far as they should have put it at the bottom and asked users to flip the phone over, come on. Now that is bad design. If you have to actively turn your phone upside down to unlock it, to do a selfie, to do anything like that, that is no. Ain't gonna happen. And finally, as far as true bezelless, Sharbex points out, and Sharbex, I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just responding to your points here. Sharbex says the Xiaomi Mi X2 has a proper bezelless display. And so I pulled up this phone, and I did shoot. I had a picture of it, and now it's gone. Here we go. So here's the Sharbex. It's not a really high-res picture, but here it is. True bezelless, he says. But down at the bottom, you have a solid black line. Well, that's a bezel, my friend. That is a bezel. It's only on one side, but that is a bezel. Bezelless has to mean it goes to the edge all the way around. Even the Note 8 only goes to the edge side to side. It doesn't go to the edge top and bottom. There is a thin black bezel on there. Now, you can argue which is better, whether it's more important to have a bezel-less display. I honestly would have preferred to have just a solid thin black bar across the top, but hey, that's me, than that little cutout. But saying that the Xiaomi is a true bezel-less display when it has that bar at the bottom, not the case. It goes to the edge on 3 sides, not 4. There is a bezel. Sorry, there's not a bezel-less display. So anyway, so there's my tirade on that. You guys agree or disagree? By all means, tell me about it, and let me scroll back and see, because the comments have been flying by, and let's see what you guys are saying about this. Let's see, we're talking lenses. We're going to come back to that as another topic. Kevin would love a demo of the 2.0 firmware, so would I. Martin think less lives is good, as often topics come up over and over very close apart. Okay, thank you, Martin. I appreciate the support on that. Trevor says you could also do something along the lines of full shows on Tuesday, Thursday, abbreviated shows on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, i.e. 15 minutes, or the reverse of that. Not a bad plan. Not a bad idea. Marvin says you could use the dual camera. Okay, now we're talking iPhone. Could you use the dual camera streaming gizmo to do some live camera work where you can show how HDMI output from the camera at the same time as another live camera view? I'm not sure I follow. Could you use the dual camera streaming gizmo? Dual cameras. I don't know if you're. Are you talking about the Epiphan X2? Is that what you mean by that? Or are you talking about my setup here? Please clarify, Marvin. I'd love to answer your question. Neil says, any recommendations for external lighting setups? Ooh, that's a whole other show. We should do a show on dedicated external lighting. So, very quickly, small studio strobes are always nice, easy, portable, battery-powered, great. You get a good amount of power out of them if you want strobes. If you're looking for constant lights, you can spend anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 on lights. My preferred high-quality lighting kit is made by a company called Filex, F-I-I-L-E-X. I am not sponsored by them. I just happen to really, really love their gear. Very high quality, but not cheap. But really awesome stuff. So I look into there. Otherwise, I've shown lights on here. I'll link to it up here. I did a unboxing thing a while ago on the lights that I am using out in my live studio right now, and you can take a look at those. Quite inexpensive, and I'm really happy with them. So, other things to consider. All right. Kevin says, for most of that, you better be using the Amazon Alexa. I'm not quite sure what we're talking about there, but that's okay. Marvin, Face ID when your phone holder is in the center of the car, how do you get in front of it? You don't have to be directly in front of it, as long as it's reasonably visible to you. So, and it's probably going to be tilted towards you, right? If your car is here, it's sitting here, it's probably going to be tilted towards you a little bit so you can see it, right? And we don't know how wide of a field of view it is. That we don't know yet. I don't know if you have to be here to it. Can you be all the way over here? Because I can see it, so it can see me. We don't know. We don't know. But I think in a car mount, you're probably going to have it tilted towards you a little bit. So I think that's okay. So yeah, that's my assumption there. We'll see. Again, a lot of these things we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. Product Interna, hello again, says, Ari, the iPhone 10 finger face recognition, what about in really cold weather when using a balaclava? Okay, well, in really cold weather, you're wearing gloves as well. And with gloves, you're completely out of Touch ID, right? It's a non-starter unless you buy the special gloves that have, no, that's still not going to work for Touch ID. That just allows you capacitive touch. So with gloves, you're SOL when it comes to Touch ID anyway. For cold weather, they did say that to some degree you can cover up, right? You can wear a hat, you can wear a scarf, now completely covering your face. They also didn't show sunglasses. I'm going to imagine that sunglasses will not unlock Touch ID, which is going to be an interesting thing to see how that works out for people, because apparently it has to be able to see your eyes. Your eyes have to be open. If you're wearing sunglasses, it wouldn't know that, but we'll see. We will see what happens with that. What about motorcycle/downhill helmet or skiing goggles? Personally, I'd want both. Well, fair enough if you want both, but I think that's that ship has sailed. That's not going to happen. And with the big goggles, yeah, motorcycle helmet. But do you really want to be unlocking your phone while you're doing 120 down the highway wearing a motorcycle helmet? Stop that. Stay off your phone. Marvin says, so you get carjacked. They put wow, this is dark. They put a bag on your head. They put your phone in front of you and pull the bag off, and you automatically look at your phone and activate it. Game over. Okay, seriously, if they carjack you, they're going to grab your hand and touch your phone to it. Come on. I mean, I think we're stretching here a little bit. And let's not forget that with iOS 11, you can deactivate Touch ID or Face ID with, I believe it's 5 fast presses on the power button. So, if you're that paranoid, if you're like holding state secrets on your phone, and you're done. Otherwise, if what's on your phone is your biggest concern and you're getting carjacked, then we might need to talk about your personal life. Okay, John Morby says, +1 for a lighting show. Awesome. Filming lights especially. I've been looking at Aperture's light storm panel and a mixture of LED Fresnel lights. Could be good to do a face-off. Yeah, that'd be a big show, full-on face-off. Who knows? I'm not going to say no. Am I going to order the iPhone 10? Yes, I am. Marvin says, external show, for example, Mevo Friday, I think you meant, use the GH5 and stream its output at the same time as you do your demo. Oh, okay, you're clarifying. All right, external show. For example, Mevo Friday, use the GH5 and stream its output at the same time as you do your demo of whatever feature you're trying to demonstrate. Okay, so with the Mevo specifically, it is a single streaming device. There's no switching unless I buy another Mevo, right? So you can have multiple Mevos and switch between them, but I can't incorporate the Mevo with something else. As far as a way to incorporate multiple cameras while in the field, one of the solutions that I've looked at, but I started to play with, and I was going to use it in Sweden, and I just never really did, was the Live Air app, which goes along with the Video Pro, which I own, the really nice little hardware streamer. With that, you can incorporate multiple feeds. You can have on your iPad, you can use its camera. You can do graphic overlays and stuff. You can take your GH5 or whatever camera connected to the VDU and feed that into it. And then if you buy additional VDUs, you can incorporate additional cameras into it as well. I only have one VDU, so whenever I do finally get around to screwing around with that, I will obviously still only have the one camera option, but other than the camera that's in the iPad, but that is an option for mobile. Or you can buy hardware switching boxes like the one from Blackmagic. It's only 720p, unfortunately, but you can buy that. It's relatively small. I don't think it's self-powered, but at this point, you've got a lot of stuff to plug in. You probably want some kind of power source. That will allow you to do multi-camera switching as well. There's a lot of different options out there. It's really quite fun where this is going. All right, Tim Melander says, I'm wondering, besides the improved camera on the iPhone 10, has anyone seen anything that justifies the 1K plus price tag? The OLED HDR screen, plus there's a little bit of price bump, I think, just for the joy of it being the first of its kind. I think that's fair. There is a little bit of a price premium because it is the top-end flagship, yada, yada. But the OLED screen and the Face ID, those are the two big things that do the price. Pragmatorina says, yes, gloves are a must here in minus 35 Celsius. Oh my God, that's cold. But they're fast to get off. Fair enough. I mean, also fast to pull down, and I don't know. I guess we'll see, won't we? We will see. What do I think of the Olympus 12 to 100? Have no experience with it. That's an awfully big range for a single lens, though. Regarding Face ID, I think infrared sees through sunglasses, Marcus Kloss says. Oh, that'd be very interesting. God, that would be cool and very handy. Marvin, that's the gizmo I was thinking of. Good, I'm glad I got your question. Marvin says, X phone, 10 phone has that ridiculous powerful new processor. Well, so does the iPhone 8. The iPhone 8 also has the ridiculous powerful new neural net processor thing. All right, let's move on to the next comment/question, shall we? Here we go. This is good. This is a follow-up on last week's show about using the touch screen to autofocus on the GH5 or any Lumix camera. Ping Dao to China says, can I use the screen touching autofocus while someone is walking towards the camera? Would it work? Okay, so he's asking basically, or she's asking basically, can you use touching the screen to follow focus someone as they're walking towards the camera? And the answer to that is, for video, is going to be no, because every time you force it to refocus, the way the camera focuses is it's going to go past that point, before that point, and then lock on. It does a quick little wink, wink, boom. And it's very fast, but clearly you are out of focus when you're here or here. So what you want is actual focus tracking. You want the camera to lock on and track itself. Now, depending on the subject, depending on the camera, some cameras focus track better than others. He doesn't say exactly what camera he's using here. We all know that even the GH5 isn't phenomenal at focus tracking as things are walking towards it, but it does do a pretty good job, but it's not flawless. We know that. Other cameras that have perhaps better focus tracking, focus locking will do better as things are walking towards it. But regardless of the camera, what you want in that situation is for the camera to follow focus, not to be tapping on the screen, because it is going to force that pop, pop, pop for it to find the focus. So don't do it that way. Use focus tracking, whether it's the tracking point, and we saw in the firmware announcement for firmware 2 that you'll be able to have a little bit more control over that tracking point if you're using actual focus tracking, or hopefully, and we shall see, the 225 area focusing will do a better job of just recognizing something and holding it in focus. So we'll see how that works out. All right, let's see here. Questions related. Excuse me. Yeah, this is good. Kevin says, going off the touch controls on the GH5, are the video playback controls touch only, or can I use the buttons or joystick? Oh yeah, you can use the buttons. You don't, I shouldn't say this explicitly, but I'm pretty sure that you do not have to touch the screen on the GH5 to do anything. I'm pretty sure you can do absolutely everything via the joystick, because remember, you have the rotating dial, which is a simultaneously up, down, left, right dial, and you have the joysticks. You have two different control areas, and I'm pretty sure you don't have to touch the screen if you don't want to. Pretty sure. And if you do have to, it's going to be for very, very little stuff, because you really can do everything through the physical commands if you want to. Talman says, I would love to see you do a recording, maybe an outdoor shooting with your observations on your composition and settings, etc. as you go possible. Yeah, Talman, that would be a great type of a show to do as a edited show. Remind me of that in a while. That's certainly not something I'll do right away. I want to get a flow going for the edited shows. It'll be kind of vloggy style / product review. I don't really know exactly, but I do know that I need to get more edited short videos out there to continue to grow the channel. This much I am certain of. It's just figuring out how to fit that into the workflow without sacrificing the live thing, which is really what sets this channel apart from most others. Everybody's doing edited video reviews and so on. I do live, hardly anybody does that, and that is what makes this unique, but not everybody has time to, or can be here live, or has time to watch a 30, 40-minute show. I get that, totally. Scoregasm says, question again, if you could pick only 2 lenses for the GH5, 8-18, 12-60, 12-35, 42.5 Nocticron. Man, why do you make me pick? I want them all. If I really had to narrow it down, I'd go for the zooms 8-18 and the 12-60 right now, because they're both so incredibly versatile. If I know I'm shooting a lot of low light video, then of course the 12-35 is going to be great. The Nocticron is gorgeous, but are you talking video specifically? You don't say video specifically. So that 42.5 Nocticron is one of my favorites. It just depends on what you're doing, man. I'm sorry. If you're looking for the most versatility, 8-18 and the 12-60, that's going to give you the most versatility. If you're looking for the best low light performance, the 12-35 and the Nocticron are going to give it to you. If you're doing shallow depth of field portraits, well, clearly the Nocticron is the way to go, and then you got to add probably the 12-60 onto that for versatility. Sorry, there's not an easy question. It's never an easy question unless I know a lot more about what you're actually doing. Tony Hill says, this is a very good question. Are the Face ID on the iPhone 10? What happens if ladies are wearing a burqa? That is a fabulous question. I do not know. I don't know if, and it goes along with the balaclava, balaclava as well, whether, because baklava is a delicious dessert and balaclava is something you wear on your face. Don't get those two mixed up. You'll have honey all over your beard. I don't know. I don't know if just the eyes are enough. It's a very, very interesting question, and that certainly could pose a problem for people who need to wear a burqa. I don't know. I don't know. Marvin says, do 3 live and 1 edited and 1 Mevo Spark Friday. Man, that's still 5, dude. That's still 5. Gotta scale back. Kevin says, what app do you use, if any, to step frame by frame on a MacBook through the H.265 produced by post-focusing? I don't remember what they're called. I did a video. We'll link to it. I'll have to find it. We'll link to it. I did a video a while ago about the different app options that were out there. That was several months ago, and I'm sure there are better options now. But keep in mind that with macOS High Sierra, H.265 support will be native, so we should be able to just open them in QuickTime Player and step through them. So I would, when is that coming out? Somebody tell me when High Sierra is coming out. It's got to be within a week or two. I would just wait for that. I wouldn't go looking for a third-party app at this point. Just sit tight and wait. Tim says, does anyone know if the iPhone 10 removed the Touch ID to replace Face ID? Yes, it does not support both. It is just Touch ID. It is just Face ID on the iPhone 10 and just Touch ID on the iPhone 8. All right. Next question. Well, here, let's just bring it up. I didn't bring this stuff in here to answer it, so I'm going to have to answer this by mime. But here we go. Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis, a.k.a. Connie, says, I am new to you, and yes, I have subscribed. Hope you do the same. Why, thank you very much. I really like your work and have been watching your Mevo updates. In your latest setup, the Mevo, a mini iPad, and a lavalier, can you show that setup? Well, she specifically wants this. Ryan, can you grab my Mevo kit? I was going to grab that, and I forgot. I see things as you do, and thanks for your insight. Waiting for more, and we'll continue to learn from all your other videos. Okay, so hopefully, hopefully it's all in one kit. No, things are scattered right now. The easiest thing to do with the Mevo and a lav mic is simply using your iPhone or an iPad, it doesn't matter what, and plugging the headphone into your phone. Now, if you're on an iPhone 7, then of course you have to have the adapter to go to the Lightning. If you're on an iPhone, any iPad or any iPhone previous to this, you have a headphone jack you can plug directly in. Remember that you do need a a microphone that has a TRRS jack. The ones that I use are from Rode. It's the Rode Mic Lav Mic Pro, something Lav Mic. Anyway, it's from Rode. It's called Lav Pro Plus or something like that, and it's got on the end of it a TRRS. It's a little gray banded plug, so you know it's the right one. And it is designed for smartphones. If you don't have that, if you have a lavalier that's just a standard jack on it, you can get an adapter to it. But anyway, plugging the microphone into your phone is the easiest way, because then you can put the camera anywhere. You don't have to worry about stretching your microphone from you to the camera. And you're using the phone to control the switching, the zooming, and it brings in the audio from your mic, and it keeps everything in sync. It's really, really nicely designed. I really dig that setup. If you add the Boost, the Mevo Boost, which is the big battery pack, it also has, awesome, thank you. It also has a USB port on it. So, super, everything is here. All right, so there's the Mevo itself. Let's do this. A little rearranging here and get this guy into screen, get this out of the way, and here we go. So there's the little Mevo. And the Mevo, the only port that it has on it is a mini USB port. That is specifically for charging. It is not for anything else. Now, that said, someone had recommended to me buying I want to call it OTA cable, but I don't think that's right. But anyway, there's a cable that Samsung users use for kind of splitting out USB, and that gives you a full-size port. I plugged that in, plugged a microphone kit into that. It didn't work. So as far as I know, unless there's something I missed, there is really no way to plug a microphone directly into this. So with this setup, it's this guy, your iPhone or iPad or whatever, a lavalier mic plugged into this, and you're good to go. Now, if you have the Boost, let's get the Boost on here. Let's get this into frame. If you have the Boost has a full-size USB port. That USB port can be used for a variety of things, including plugging in a wireless receiver. So, well, or you could plug in just a simple USB to audio converter, little $5 pieces, which I think I have one right here. And you could use that to put in, here we go. You could use that to feed a lined audio, a hardwired audio into it if you wanted to. So this is what I'm talking about. These things are like $5, maybe $10 on Amazon. Just a little, it's USB on one end, and then it has a headphone and headphone and microphone jack on the back. So you could plug one of these into this. So we could do that, and then plug in a hardwired microphone there, or any other way of converting it, get in there a microphone kit that is plugged into a wireless lav. And I think actually, maybe that must be how I did it. Right, wireless receiver from the Sennheiser plugged into this, into there. Yeah, I think that's how I did that. Right, that makes sense. So other options, right? So those are your options for plugging in. But that's what you've got there. Those are your options there. So audio on a wire well, wire or wireless, but having audio on the plugged into the iPhone is certainly the easiest, most straightforward way to do it, and it keeps it in sync. I was concerned when I first started playing with it. I was concerned that it wouldn't be able to go in sync. Oh, there we go. But it does. It keeps it in sync. It's impressive. That's it. This is an impressive kit. I'm a huge fan of the Mevo. I really like it a lot. Okay. Silo says, the links for the GH5 kits in your description all just take me to an empty wishlist page. Is that my issue, or do they need to be updated? Shiloh, thank you very much for that. Ryan, please note that down. We will look into that, and we will fix that if it needs fixing. If you are, it might only work in the US. Where are you, Shiloh? Please tell me that. All right, now let's move on to the next one. So there's a second half to Blue Rock's question, which coincided with somebody else's question. Here we go. Blue Rock's second part of the question was, how do you add the chat room in split screen while you're doing live streaming in general? This is so important and not sure why YouTube doesn't do that themselves. Me neither. And also not sure why they don't allow us to archive the live chat for the show later. Me neither. With the archive video, unless you're missing something, you are not. And DJ Kanek also asks, what switcher are you using on your iPad? Is it Live Air by the Teradek? Okay. I've done a complete show on this before, so the only reason I'm bringing this up is so that I can point you to it. We will link to it right here. There's a playlist that covers my entire live streaming setup. But just to answer these questions directly and briefly, no, this is not Live Air. What you're seeing, what I'm using on my iPad is an interface. It's a third-party app called I always forget what this thing's called Strata Pro, that is an interface to my Blackmagic ATEM switcher. I'm using a very large hardware switcher to do all of the switching that you see in here. The Live Air app is something that I will be playing with at some point, but would not incorporate in this level of production. That would be for an on-the-road multi-camera show, which I promise I will at some point really get into that and demo it, but not yet. As far as the split screen, this is all through the ATEM switcher. It allows me to, basically with the ATEM, I have a bunch of inputs. I've got this computer, this camera, that camera, iOS, well, this is whatever I want to plug into it. It's a converter. I've got the camera out in the field out there. I've got this computer in front of me that I'm looking at that you don't see right now. All are feeding in, and I can combine these in a number of ways. So there's just the Mac, for example. There's back to me. There's the close-up camera. Woohoo! There's a picture-in-picture with the Mac. So if I want to do that, right? It's a simple picture-in-picture, and that is effectively what this is as well. It is a split screen of two sources. You'll notice when I come up here, so if I go back to me, I'm centered, and then when I bring up the split, I move off to the side because I've cropped the edges and then shifted it over so I stay centered in the frame. And then the other half is this screen in front of me, which is just another Mac, which has the chat on half of the screen. The other half of the screen is show notes for me to reference, but the left half, your right, your left, anyway, that half is the chat, and that's what you're seeing there. So that's how that works. But this is not, unfortunately, this is not a simple configuration. It is a very advanced configuration. I've been building this for quite a while. A lot of money goes into this, but it's a full broadcast studio. That is what it is. Kind of went big on it. Okay, let's see, I think is that, oh no, there's one more question. Let's see what else is in the comments. Shiloh is in Philadelphia, so you're in the US. Okay, so Shiloh, we will definitely fix that because those links should be working for you, so thank you for warning me of that. Tyler says, you're the adapter master, Sensei. Man, there are so adapters galore, it's kind of ridiculous. Burns Tech. Hello, Burns. Joseph has a complete series on a setup. Well, there you go. Again, we'll link to that. It will be linked up there. All right, I think this is the last one. Yep, last question comes up here. It's so funny, this comment, so this was in my held for review state because apparently it had a bad word in it, and I have yet to figure out what the bad word in here is. What word is it Google thinks is not acceptable out of this? I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, Osho Productions says, hi, Joseph, my favorite new YouTube channel. Well, clearly Osho Productions. Oh, I didn't put it up. There we go. Osho Productions says, hi, Joseph, my new favorite YouTube channel. So clearly, Osho Productions is a certified genius. I just bought a Vidra 50mm prime, mini prime, but then had to return it as the focus ring is really tight. You can't focus without moving the camera. Well, that's not good. I like to rack focus a lot, and I do run gun style videography, and I don't have the time to stop and do it in camera. Got it. Can you suggest a Cine lens or other Panasonic lens with a really smooth, easy to move focus ring? I'm used to my Panasonic HMC 130 focus ring, not familiar with what that is, which is smooth as silk. I'm looking at the Nocticron 42.5mm, which you reviewed. Was the focus ring smooth? By the way, I watched your GH5 training at lynda.com. Great job. Why, thank you very much. I'm glad you are enjoying that training. Okay, so this is a big lens conversation. The Panasonic lenses, the autofocus lenses, are all drive-by-wire. I don't know if that's my term for it. I don't know if that's their term for it. But the actual focus mechanism is disconnected from the focus ring is disconnected from the actual focus mechanism. Meaning, when I turn the ring, it is not a bunch of gears mechanically moving the lens. It is electronics that sense the speed at which you're moving that ring and direct the autofocus system to move at an appropriate speed to change focus. And for my money, it takes a little getting used to, but once you're used to it, I really like it. Now, that doesn't mean that there are times where you go to move it slowly and it doesn't move exactly how you anticipated, and that can be a little bit annoying, no doubt. But overall, I like it. But if you want something that is mechanical, there are plenty of lenses out there that are mechanical focusing lenses, just not from Panasonic. Now, he's asking specifically about a smooth 50mm prime. Now, the Vidra, I think that's a 25mm, I think, so 50mm equivalent. The reason this is why I wanted this lens up here. So this lens here is my Zhongyi, so let's get the front on that thing, Zhongyi Speedmaster lens. This is a 25mm f/0.95. It has a stepless aperture. So see, as I do the aperture, you can see in there it is not stepping, stepless aperture, and it is completely mechanical. It's not a drive-by-wire. This is a totally manual lens. You can see the back has no electronics on it, so the camera has no idea not only what lens is on there, but even that a lens is on there. It just doesn't know. And I like it a lot. It's very smooth to focus. When I first got it, it had a couple of kind of stutters in the focusing, but once I had it for maybe a month or so, it wore itself loose, and now it's smooth as butter. So I do adore this lens. The optics on here are good. They are not fantastic. They're not like a glass, which, you know, at this price it shouldn't be. It's less than $500 for this lens, but they do have a unique look to them. They have a unique bokeh. They have a unique flare. I just happen to love this lens. There's a lot of companies making almost the exact same lens. I don't know if they have the same optics, if it's the same factory under different branding. Not a clue. I'm sure some investigative journalist could figure that out. But I am impressed with this lens. So there's that. The Nocticron is a very smooth focusing lens. However, something to be aware of, it is not a fast focusing lens, meaning even if you spin it fast, we're talking manual focuser, even if you spin it fast, it has a long spin before it goes from closest to infinite focus. And that is by design, because it is designed as a portrait lens. If you're doing portraits and you're manually focusing, you don't want to move the focus ring a tiny bit and have it go, ooh, a huge focus move. You want very slow, gradual focus, and that's the way the lens is designed. And so it's great for portraits. It's not so great for sports. So it's just one of those things to consider. It's a beautiful lens. I absolutely love that lens, but I wouldn't consider that a really fast focusing lens when you're in manual focus mode. And even in autofocus, I think it's a little bit slower than some of its brethren, but it is just a gorgeous lens. So hopefully that answers the question at least to some degree on there. I appreciate that question. Kevin Wright says, the big problem with focus by wire is that it completely undermines your ability to choose the exact pull speed when shooting video. Correct. Yes, I don't disagree at all. Fortunately, with the GH5, you've got the ability to set focus points and adjust the speed in 5 steps. I know it's not the same. I know it's not full manual control, but yeah, if you're going to do that, then you might want to consider Cine lenses for that type of work. Now, that said, I did a video quite a while ago on these little handles. We'll link to that if we can find it. We'll link to that up here if we haven't run out of things to link to. They're not even designed for pull focus. I forget what they said they were actually designed for. They told me that I kind of demoed it in an not incorrect, but a not as intended use case, but that the company liked the way that I was using them. And we have them on both the zoom and the focus ring in the studio camera out there that Ryan operates, because it allows him to, without having to reach around and guess at what he's grabbing, there's a big orange bar and a big blue bar, and allows him to very quickly find the zoom or the focus ring and move it with quite a bit of control, more control than if you were grabbing the ring itself. So that's something. Again, we'll link to that. Go check that out. That's a nice option, and I think that helps with the drive-by-wire controls. But yes, I'm not disagreeing with it at all. It is harder to control a very smooth and precise focus pull. No question about it. All right. That's all the questions in here. Let's see here. I think, if there's anything else that I missed on here. Otherwise, we are going to call it a wrap. There was a question at the very beginning. Oh, yeah, we talked about the lenses. Okay, I think we got it all, guys. So thanks again for tuning in for today's show. I hope you learned something. Hope that was entertaining. Hope those of you who actually submitted these questions enjoy the answers. And, of course, if you have any follow-up questions, you know what to do. Put them down in the comments below. That would be awesome. Let's see. I want to tell you all about the things coming up over the next couple of weeks because there's a lot. Tomorrow we're starting Polar, a new app. This is on macOS and iOS, which are virtually identical to each other. So we will be starting primarily in macOS, and we will look at the differences in iOS. Interesting point. I talked to the developer, and they said that new features go to iOS first. And so I will, for every round of demo, I will figure out what is unique about iOS version, and I'll do the demo primarily on macOS and then switch over to iOS to show what's extra there. But I'm excited about it. I think Polar is a really cool app, and it has grown up a lot. So it is. It's going to be fun to play with. Excuse me. Also, I have right now running a competition. You can win either the GH5 training or a full 1 year's membership to photoapps.expert. The way that you get to that competition is you go to photojoseph.com/contest. photojoseph.com/contest. I probably should make a slide that shows that URL, but you can remember that, photojoseph.com/contest. And here is what it looks like. You can see there are 500 entries right now, 6 days left. And yeah, it's a follow kind of contest. You know, subscribe to YouTube, sign up for the newsletter. That unlocks more entries. Follow on Twitter, retweet, yada, yada, and you enter in. And we'll be picking 10 winners out of that. And that ends at midnight Sunday, Pacific time, I think. So basically through the weekend, you've got a chance to do that. So, and again, the prizes there are a GH5 training course or a year's access to PhotoApps.expert, the membership. Coming up next week on Wednesday, I am going to be down in San Francisco with IBM. We're going to be doing a webinar on professional live streaming from cameras to encoders, as you can see, presented by IBM Cloud Video, Panasonic, and PhotoJoseph.com. That's me. So this is going to be a lot of fun, I think. I said Wednesday, sorry, Thursday next week. I don't have a URL. They don't put a URL in their graphic. Link down below. There will be a link down below in the comments to this. I'm going to be down there Wednesday for all-day rehearsal, setup, and so on. We have some gear from Epiphan. We're going to be talking about what it takes to do professional-level live streaming. It's going to be really, really interesting and really fun. I'm super excited to be doing this, to be on a panel with IBM. I think it's going to be fantastic. So yay to that. And then on Friday, well, I don't have one for Friday. Well, Saturday. We'll skip Fridays. We'll come back. So Friday, this is next Friday, I'll be at Sammy's Camera on Fairfax. So that's the one near Burbank Airport. And on Saturday, I will be, oops, wrong one. Saturday, where am I? I will be here. I will be at Image One Camera talking about the GH5 firmware update. They are also going to stream this live. As soon as we have a URL for that, I will, of course, share that with you. But they will be streaming my entire day there from 9 to noon, talking about the GH5 firmware update. I'll have a presentation about it, but also just be helping people get updated and just answer any questions that people might have about the GH5 version 2 firmware update. So that's Sammy's Camera on Friday. That's like me behind a counter helping people update their cameras, answering questions. And then Saturday at Image One in Riverside doing a presentation, a little bit more hands-on and stuff like that. And hopefully I'm going to have a device to be able to show HLG, the hybrid log gamma footage, in its native HDR format, which will be really exciting as well. Okay. Whew. That's a lot of stuff to throw at you. Oh, some people were asking about the Oaxaca workshop and Oaxaca in general because they had the big earthquake down there. So update on all that. Sadly, we canceled the workshop. Not because of the earthquake. We didn't have enough signups, which was remarkable to me that we didn't. So I am going to be sending out a survey, hopefully this week, asking people why they didn't sign up. Oh, what was it? Price, location, simply scheduled, it's a bad time of year. What were the reasons, or not interested, obviously, but what were the reasons that you didn't sign up so I can try and gauge what we did wrong? Because clearly, given the one in January, we sold out, and the one here, we didn't have enough signups to even go. Something went wrong. So we got to figure that out, figure out what's going on there. Is it because there's the wall? I don't know what's going on, but we got to figure that out. So if, just think about that. And I'll get a survey out to you guys. For those of you who are on the mailing list, you'll get a survey on that sometime this week. I think that's everything. All right, you folks. Riverside, Alabama. No, Talman. Sorry. Riverside, California, Los Angeles area. All right, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in today, as always, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.